So, hello, I'm Dexter
Hello,
Bone. I'm
Dexter.
the, yes, I'm the INEB's communications coordinator, and I'm joined by Bobo Lwin. And yeah, we were just going to have a little conversation about uh, your journey with INEB and how some of the activities that you've initiated have are continuing to evolve, especially in a an ever-changing climate, like a literally changing climate in terms of the ecological aspects and all the political things too. So yeah, maybe you could just introduce yourself and kind of say how you initially got involved with INEB kind of quite a while ago now.
Mhm. So I I joined INEB as one of the participants of Young Bodhisattva training, called in English we call International Young Buddhist Leadership Training. I think in 2005, maybe. Yeah. At the time, I was doing my master degree in Bangkok, and Mu gave the information to join the course. That's really fantastic for me because it really gives the light that I can really apply the Buddhist way, Buddhist philosophy, and Buddhist teachings in our social engagement, social change movement. And when I look at my society in Myanmar, we have a leadership crisis. We badly need to prepare our future leadership, the young people, for our country, for reforming our society. And I found this socially engaged Buddhist approach is really applicable and might be powerful to work with the young people in Myanmar society, because Myanmar has a majority Buddhist population. So, but when I look at this current situation at that time, the Myanmar Buddhists, just the way they practice Buddhism is just going to the pagoda temples, donating a lot of money, and not really engaging with the social issues and environmental issues. So that's why I'm I'm quite inspired from Ajahn Sulaks and Peter Charles, and all these INEP training dimensions really made me to be engaged with the young people in Myanmar. Since that time, I work with a group of young people in Myanmar, and that the small project grows very quickly. In 2 3 years, we made decision to form as a foundation called Kalyana Mitta Development Foundation. I became the director and the leader of the foundation. And since that time, I used to engage with INEB for some collaborations, some on projects, some seminar conferences, and yeah, I became part of INEB family.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I've heard a similar kind of story from other members of the Young Bodhisattva program, how that really kickstarted their thinking around how to blend uh, Buddhist practice and especially the engaged Buddhist like principles um, into their work. And I guess that's kind of one of the aims as well, to help empower like leaders like that. Um, and I know that so we've just published one of your an article that you recently wrote on our website, and it will be in the new Seeds of Peace issue. Um, and in there, you talk about a kind of your interests from high school, even through not now you're doing your PhD in ecological work and these types of understandings, and then also blending that with socially engaged Buddhism. So I was curious about how you see those two dimensions of your interests and of the important work that needs to be done in those spheres, how those cross over in the work and programs that Kalyana Mitta have done with the youth, and even perhaps what you're hoping to be able to do in the future around that. Yeah.
Yeah, in the article, I started from my childhood and a very young high school student. I've studying from biology. Uh, that's my the way how I became interested in environmental issues and affairs. as I mentioned in the article, I was just curious about the natural science, how the ecosystem is functioning, but I didn't have any solutions how to engage or how to address the issues. But when I tried to bring all this Buddhist young bodhisattva perspective to Myanmar and work with the young people, I found that it's really powerful when we apply deep ecology concept in social engagement. Actually, we try to teach all these different topics like gender, equality, human rights, and environmental issues. But I notice seriously, young people are much more keen on these environmental issues. It's very powerful way that they become motivated and engage in different types of activities throughout the country. That's what we observe, what they are doing on the ground. So, and deep ecology concept, it's also quite relevant in engaged Buddhism concept, because when we live with the nature, we live with the society, and we cannot say that's not my business, that's not related to me. So this kind of teaching and concept can really link to engagement in addressing all these social and climate issues. So that's why I try to also apply all these principles or deep ecologies and engage Buddhism concept in our youth empowerment movement. That's why even when we stop our projects activities, but the youth groups, the young people in Myanmar still keep on going, and they don't really stop it. So, and the attitude, particularly, we really cover on the attitude and mindset in our holistic development, what we call a 3H, like head, heart, and hand, right? So mostly formal education, mainstream education, put a lot of information and thinking skill in the head, but not just go to the heart, the spiritual and the attitude to be motivated to or committed to the society or our environment. So in our training courses, we try to put more efforts in the personal transformation. We call that transformational workshops. So it takes time. So sometimes we need to spend whole day. Sometimes we need to bring the young people to the forest, like forest walk, listen to the nature, trying to understand how we live, how we coexist in the society, something like that. So I really enjoy working with these young people in University Green Movement, applying all these principles. So that's why I try to share these experience in the Glasgow climate change activities.
Wow, yeah, it's really interesting how yeah, you're able, I mean, because you know through your experience how how meaningful that is for the youth, and how they're even continuing it amidst a much more difficult political and like social climate. And I know that even moving on into where you are currently, I'm speaking to you like we're both in England, and you're studying in Milton Keynes doing your PhD, and how I wonder if you could speak a little bit about what it is that motivated you to do your PhD, what you're studying, and how you're hoping that can even further the work of supporting the youth, but almost from the more structural level of being able to change actually like certain elements of higher education in Myanmar.
Yeah. So in general, we badly need to reform our education system in Myanmar, because we have been living under military regime for several decades, and that is very general dimension that we really need to reconstruct and change many things in our education system. And when we think about reforming and reconstruction, we are worried that we just copy and follow everything from the West. And we also need to look at our own context, how sustainability is perceived in Myanmar, and how Myanmar people want our desired future, our own in our own context. So it may not be the right way that to copy everything from the UNESCO guidelines or because United Nations also have a list of guidelines and kind of like graduate competency that we really expect. But we also need to look at our own context because it is very different from other country situation. So that's one area that I want to explore my research, sustainability in Myanmar context, and how we can integrate these sustainability concept in university educations if we have a chance to reform. Actually, when I came to UK, like the previous government, NLD-led government, was really implementing reforming reconstruction, but they could not really do very well in higher education sector. They start a lot with basic education. We call it primary education. They have done a lot, very beautiful. So they were about to start to do a lot in higher education. That's why it's a good time for me to can come to UK to do this doctoral research, and I want to contribute something for the university reform, because I have been engaging with university students like Green Campus Movement, more than 25 universities in Myanmar. The students are really beautiful, they're very active. And also we engage with 2 University of Educations for Education for Peace. So how to integrate peace concept in, we call it student teachers for training BEd student, Bachelor of Education, who will become teachers at school after completing their graduation. So because of these background and experience, I really want to contribute something for reforming or reconstructing our education, higher education. That's why I decided to pick up this opportunity to come to UK to do this research. Also to learn something from the West. Both good and bad.
yeah, right.
In UK also I noticed like some complaints about your GCSE and curriculum contents in UK because there is no more environmental course or modules such as in for the school students, secondary school students. But what the government claim is, no, you can talk about environment in geography or chemistry or biology. So what they are talking about is just to link with environmental science and knowledge, like things of, related to the subject matter like physics, chemistry, biology, or geography. But for me, what we also want to talk about environmental education is a little bit much more activism, to look at the social justice issues, not just pure science.
Right. So because it sounds like, yeah, it sounds like you've been able to do that work quite effectively from outside of the university structure, like being able to provide training opportunities and being able to organize groups as a civil society organization, but not necessarily coming from the way the universities are actually structured. So what, in your ideal like vision, what would that look like in Myanmar? How would higher education support that kind of ecological thinking and like a full integration? What would be the almost perfect scenario? What do you think?
Yeah, these institutions are also influencing a lot of young people, graduates, so they should also be a good model. And the university should be playing as a key role model of not just only concepts and theories, but also in terms of practice and operation. Like that's why many people talk about university should be like kind of small scale lab or testing and learning and practicing all these sustainability concept in the campus, because sometimes like university are talking about the sustainability, but in reality, if you look at their campus, they are full of junks and bullshit. They don't really care about sustainability. They don't really practice and they don't really engage. They just talk about other people from just their academic perspective and theories. So I really expect universities should be a role model of really practicing them.
Yeah. And I'm thinking like from the structural perspective, if the institution that is ideally educating the next generation of leaders and just people that will be part of the economy and like leading the society as the young people develop. It is slightly hypocritical to not be integrating a full education system, like you said. Like it's just really focused on the head. Oh, these are really important ideas that we need to think about, but there isn't so much of the, oh, this is how we apply them in the world. This is how we engage the beautiful philosophies of sustainability into the way that we actually operate our organization. And that seems to be the whole crux of engaged Buddhism. It's about like really seeing deeply into the problems and then being able to fix the problems through your activity. Yeah, so I find that really really beautiful, and I hope that you're able to bring that energy into the university system. Maybe it needs to be a slow burn, but it'll get there.
I really hope so.